Hey, this is a video for a custom order I'm doing for Phil, and it is a e-cigarette case holder. So I wanted to kind of go over the design that I had come up with or revised. So this is the basic layout. I copied it basically from the sketch. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Over here the adjustments are made to 9/16, and then I had put 2.5, but as I look at the design, I'm thinking maybe 3 might be ideal for the elastic. And so I kind of wanted to show how the elastic would go. And it fits. Basically, you would do a crimp over here, and then you would stitch here, and then one stitch here, and then leaving a space for another stitch, and then another stitch. So it'd be basically 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, running right next to each other, kind of like the shotgun shell. And then each, I'm using this as a model, but each E-Cig would then slide in right next to each other. And then this is the bottle holder, and then same idea, the elastic would go this way. And I'm still playing with the width of the elastic. This is 1.5, I believe. Yeah, because then you have another 1 inch over here. This is 1.5 inch. I'm really thinking 2.5 to 3 inch elastic would really hold the E-Cig securely in its place. And then, especially if you're going to sew the end, it's not going to sit all the way down to the bottom because the stitch is going to create a little bit of a gap. So if we sew the end, we want to use a little bit wider elastic. If it's open, then it can kind of go in and sit more flush against the line. So that's something to consider if you want it stitched or not. The other design, as I was drawing this out, and since the stitches are one right next to each other, in the original design, the stitches were, it would be stitched here, and then there was a little gap, and then another stitch, another stitch. But the best way to do elastic is to have them kind of go back, next to each other. So, with that in mind, it seemed like you had, then each measurement was 3.5, 3.5. Starting from the edge, when I started drawing it out, it almost left a 1/2 inch on each side free, which works. So, this is the mock-up. This is the cardboard version that I like to do, and you can see it's 8 inches long, and it's 3.5 to this dotted line, and 3.5 to the dotted line, and then this is a 1 inch, kind of a 1 inch area where the fold would be, and the fold wouldn't fold, like this. It would be more like a book. So I've kind of put those creases in there. It'd be more like a book, because the cylinders, and I was just using this as a mock-up, would go basically like this. So you want to make sure that there's enough of a bend to accommodate the cylinders in a row. So this was the current mock-up I've done. And what I was talking about as far as the stitching goes, so if we ran elastic stitch down here, and basically I'm going to show you a sample. So this is the leather I start with. This is the smooth side, I don't know if you can tell. The smooth side. And then on the underside is the rough flesh side. So when I was thinking about the design, basically, this is a cardboard. The smooth side would be here. It's the nicer side where the front cover would be, and the inside would be the rough side. Now when you dye it and when you finish it, I'll show you the watch I've done. This is the smooth side. This is actually Java Brown dye. When you finish it, the smooth side has a nice smooth look to it, and then I end up burnishing and dyeing and finishing it. So it still has a somewhat grainy texture, but for the inside, I think that works. But when you do that, when you run the stitches, basically the stitches will show on the outside front cover. So my solution to that was, I have 2 solutions. One is, this was going to be 4 to 5 ounce leather. is to use another piece of 4 to 5 ounce leather on the part that would be the front cover, and instead of stitching this section onto here, you would stitch it onto here, and basically it'd be something similar to this. And then the stitching would be on this part, and so when you fold it over, this shows a nice clean area. The only stitching you'd see is just around the border here, and then possibly right here. One of the nice things I could do if I didn't stitch here is that this could act as a small pouch. And you can't put obviously too much thick stuff in there because you'd have your E-Cigs here. But then the stitching would all be on the back here, and it wouldn't show through the front. So that's one option. Oh, and then when you have it set up this way, the snap that we decide to use would be installed here, and then the back would be here. And then when this cover's on it, it doesn't show, so it wouldn't be rubbing against your E-Cigs. The other option I've seen is, according to this design, the stitches are all 4 inches. Yeah, 4 inches from the bottom. So they'd basically be right here. Is to make a 5-inch. So go an inch over, a 5-inch pocket. So I'm just going to use the same paper, but imagine this this goes all the way down, all the way down to this, and basically I would stitch another layer, and then this would be essentially a pocket, and then when you close it, let me go to the 5-inch mark. When you close it, you have basically an external pocket to put receipts and checks or whatever into. So that's the other option. It's maybe not as clean, but it's also easier to access. So basically this way, another layer. The only issue with doing it this way is if this is 4 to 5 ounce, this is 4 to 5 ounce, and this would probably be 4 to 5 ounce, it does start to make it a little thicker. If I was doing this option, this would be the 4 to 5 ounce, and then this one I would probably use a thinner leather, maybe 3 to 4 ounce, because there's no stitching in it like the elastic stitching, so it doesn't need to be the firmest leather. I mean the stitching on the edges, but so those are the two options I've got for double layering. Of course, on this side, on the back side, there'll be stitching here that will show and stitching here, but I'm not as concerned about that. Just the stitching on the front, and when you put your initials monogrammed here or here, you want it to have a nice clean look on the front. So those are the two options I'm considering. The only thing I wanted to show you was this is one of the magnetic snaps I have, but I've ordered some that have, see, this one's designed to go into a purse really. So you fold out the prongs and you set it. The ones I've ordered have a domed back. So when I stick it on this tab, it will show like a dome here. And then the other part, it would go this way. The thinner piece would be on the snap and the thicker piece would be. But it basically will show a nice domed finish here. So yeah, this is kind of the route I'm thinking of going. I think it would put less pressure, less stress on the actual cigarette. So anyway, so that's kind of what I've come up with. The only changes I think I'd make as I look at it is I have 2.5 listed here, but I think I might want to use 3-inch elastic, and I think you have it measured at 2, but I think just for a more secure grip, 2.5 to 3-inch elastic would be a nice fit. And then for this, I think we could stick with 1.5 or 2-inch. This one, the bottles. According to looking at the pictures, it looks like the bottle from the bottom to the top is about 2 inches. So if we have a 1.5 elastic, then just the cap or the top part sticks out enough for you to pull out. And then on this, I'm guessing 1.25 to 3.5 is I think how you had it drawn out. So I think we could stick to that, and then basically we just have to decide how you would want the elastic to run. Whether you would run it this way, and then stitch up here, and then have this part and have this be the opening, or if you would run a wide 2.5-inch elastic in this way. and then stitch here and here, and basically where you would want the opening to be. So that's kind of what I've come up with. If I do the double layer on the inside, what I would do is I don't think I would carry it to 3.5, because it seems like from the drawing we could go 3 inches here, and basically this gray part is a 1/2 inch of I guess room for you to adjust the fold. So when you get it, you can, depending on how thick the E-Cigs end up being, instead of budgeting, I mean I'm budgeting 1 inch, but really you have a 1/2 inch here, a 1/2 inch here. So you really have 2 inches of play in the middle. So if you double layer, I would go 3 inches on this side, and then same thing, 3 inches working my way this way. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any more questions, but this is kind of the layout I'm thinking. And then depending on how the fold goes, you'll have either 3 inches across here or 3.5 inches across. But let me know what you think about either the outside or a double layer on the inside. And if we do that double layer, I have the option to completely adhere it, so stitching down this way all the way around, or I can stitch it this part and then leave this part open if you want to use it as a pouch or something to store papers in. Anyway, let me know what you think.